Let's talk about the UVM men's basketball game because, they're playing UMBC. They have a long rivalry with this school. The America East Championship's on the line. It was kind of close for a while, but then things fell apart for UVM. What happened?
Yeah, it just came down to the fact that UVM didn't have the continuity on defense to be able to go on the road and win the championship. They've only won one playoff game on the road under John Becker, and that was when they played Stony Brook in Becker's first season to get to the tournament. Other than that, they've hosted. They've hosted every single postseason game because they've just been so dominant in this conference.
Yep.
So it was a new experience for them to be able to go on the road and play in that conference championship situation. So I think that it was just a little bit of inexperience on that side. But the defense, it broke down. I mean, Momo Kugwa fouling a 3-point shooter with 2 minutes to go. We were talking right before we went on air about how that's just a backbreaker when you foul a 3-point shooter and they get a 4-point opportunity, and then the step back three to basically put the game on ice was a good season from UVM. They figured it out late to be able to dominate to get to this point in the season, but yeah, I mean, just a couple of plays short this time around, and we'll see what happens in the transfer portal in the offseason for them.
Nathaniel, I know you were watching that game too, and you were saying before it's tough when you're sort of forced into that position where you got to start fouling guys at the end just to get them to the line. That's kind of what happened to UVM.
Yeah,
right?
And I think it's so much more realistic to win a game fouling when you're down 4, you're down 5. And when UVM, they got down 8 after that and one 3-pointer, and then it was 10-11 when they were starting to foul. And so really just not a gap that you're going to be able to make up at the free throw line in like 50 seconds.
Better news, though, for the UVM women Catamounts. 2 years in a row now that Alyssa Kresge is taking this team to the NCAA Big Dance. Fantastic win against Maine. What did they do right in that game, Jack?
I mean, Nicola Prieta just took the Conference Player of the Year for an absolute ride. Adriana Smith from Maine. I haven't seen that lopsided of a game between Vermont and Maine in my 4 years of covering the UVM women's basketball team.
I think a lot of people expected it to be closer.
I actually had more faith in the men to go into UMBC and get the win there than I did at the women beating Maine, just because of that X factor of Adriana Smith. And so for Nicola Prieta to step up against the Conference Player of the Year and shut her down enough to it, but she still got her points, she still got her rebounds, but to be able to dominate in that facet on that stage, her last game at Patrick Gym, what an absolute performance, one that we're going to talk about for a long time in UVM women's basketball, that Nicola Prieta game. I mean, it's just absolutely insane, and hopefully she's able to parlay that into some success against Louisville this weekend.
Louisville, yes. So they draw the number 3 seed.
Yeah.
Is that about what you expected?
There was some online chatter that UVM could be bumped up to a 13. I was really hoping for the Catamounts' sake that they would get a neutral court game because, they went down to UConn. That's a WNBA farm team down there in Stores. Then last year, going to NC State as the number 15 seed. That was a great game up until the fourth quarter.
It actually was.
And Vermont really had a shot to pull off the upset in that one. To get the bump up to the 14 seed this year feels like divine intervention for them to be able to, for the committee to recognize that they are deserving, that they are this budding dynasty up here in the Northeast of mid-major basketball. And so... yeah, they're going to have their work cut out for them. I think 14 seeds are 0-124 in the history of women's March Madness.
First time for everything, Jack.
There is a first time for everything. We were saying the same thing about the 15 seed last year. So basically where we thought they were going to be. We didn't think they were going to be a 15. They definitely weren't going to be a 16. But I think a lot of fans were hoping that they would be a 13. I think we'll take the 14, though, for sure.
We're going to talk brackets in just a second. But here's why I have UVM topping Louisville. Because they're UVM and because I have to pick that. However, I do want to say, too, and I don't know the most about college basketball, but one thing I did notice watching last year's game, you mentioned that NC State.
Yep.
So they really were, UVM was in that game until late. It was a second half, a bit of a collapse late there. One thing I noticed in that game was that Coach Alyssa Kresge was absolutely in her team's face during the when it was starting to slip away, and I couldn't read lips or whatever, but it seemed to me she was saying, like, you guys are better than this. We are in this thing. Keep going for it. I feel like she's got the fire in her belly. I think she's got her team believing if they can play that well against Louisville and still keep it close, they do have a shot. That's why I'm picking them.
They absolutely have a shot. Louisville has not won a national championship under their current head coach. He's going back, 20-something odd years now. Same case as it was with NC State last year. And if Vermont is able to get that starting lineup to really click the way they did against Maine. I mean, Malia Lenz was so good for UVM against Maine. I think Kresge was calling Malia the X factor because you know what you're going to get out of Nicola, you know what you're going to get out of Kira Hansen. Malia really stepped up in that big game for Maine. So if you're able to get production from Emma Hahn and Malia Lenz to go along with what you know you're going to get from Nicola, what you're going to get from Kira, they do have a shot. They really do have a shot. Again, the depth is going to be a question. If obviously the average height on Louisville is going to be much taller than what they have for Vermont, which means if Vermont gets into foul trouble and they got to go deep into that bench, there's a lot of first-year, second-year players that don't have a ton of minutes, period, at any stage of the season. So we'll see what happens with Vermont if they're able to stay out of foul trouble. That's the key to the game, and they will make this a close one.
Their team defense, their speed, their hustle. That's what I'm looking for in keys to possibly winning that game. When we do talk about brackets, I'm assuming you do have UVM in this upset in the first round?
Of course.
Nathaniel, how about you?
I mean, we'll have to see. I think maybe we should just get right into it.
I mean, let's take a look at some brackets here. Again, what we did was we decided to highlight sort of the big picks. We're not going to go through every rounder of the team of 64, whatever.
As much as the audience would love us.
They would love to nitpick on every single pick that we absolutely have here. So where should we start? Should we start with the women's bracket first?
I think let's do the women because Vermont is there, yeah.
Okay, so I've got Vermont going all the way to the Elite Eight.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you that you probably shouldn't follow that as much as I love the team. I'm just going totally with my heart there. So they are, that's kind of my Cinderella pick, I suppose. I do have Texas falling in this one. I know they're a very good team. That's the team that I have falling. And I think I got UConn going all the way. Is that right?
You and me both.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're on the same page there. Nathaniel, is that UCLA you have going all the way? Who do you have there?
No, I have the University of South Carolina.
Oh, yes. My bad. I couldn't see it from here with these glasses. But yes. Okay. South Carolina. Fair enough. Jack, what do you think of these picks? Just glancing them over here.
I mean, they're all good picks. In the women's bracket, my girlfriend is here. She covers women's sports a lot for Yahoo. She says that, the women's bracket's always chalk. Mm-hmm. It usually is, the 1 seed, 2 seed that gets down to it. I mean, Dawn Staley, South Carolina, yep. Gino Auriemma, UConn. You really can't go wrong. I mean, it's a who's who of these power conference teams that we think could definitely pull out another championship. For UConn, it would be back-to-back, and for South Carolina, it would be reestablishing the dynasty that they have within the SEC. I know they fell to Texas in the SEC championship, but I mean, it's tough to bet against Dawn Staley, man. It's really hard.
That is true, and I do feel like with the women's tournament each year, the ones you expect to see there are usually the ones that are there at the end. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But you've got to look here at some of the picks if you want to follow that. Don't follow mine. Follow these guys.
Yeah, Mitch, you were saying you had Vermont. I see they are your Cinderella pick. You have them in the Elite Eight. Jack, how far did UVM get in your bracket?
I got them to the Sweet 16. I forget who I had on the other side of the Vermont Louisville game, but I picked an upset there as well. So if it could be like a 13-16 game in the or a 13-14 game in the round of 32, that's a who's who. That's a toss up.
Yeah, that is a toss up for sure. Hedging bets there, I think, is what you're doing. Let's turn to the men's bracket now. And again, I fill out a bracket every year. I have never come close. Not even close to winning. So take this all with a grain of salt. But I've got going all the way this year, it's the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I love the Bulldogs. I don't know why. I just feel like they're the team that kind of never gets there. This is going to be their year. For a team that's a Cinderella pick, the UCLA Bruins. You know why I'm picking the UCLA Bruins, Jack?
Tell me why.
And Nathaniel? Because I'm a Boston Bruins fan in hockey. That's how much I know about basketball. I like the Bruins. I'm picking them in UCLA. Your girlfriend who works for Yahoo Sports is telling me they're totally banged up and injured, which I didn't even know. She should really be here talking about this because she knows more about this than I do. But I'm going UCLA. parlay for the upset.
I like that. I got CBU, California Baptist. It's their first March Madness tournament, and
That's a huge sleeper pick,
a
Jack.
huge sleeper pick. And when you get the juice like St. Peter's did in 2022, you just never know what can happen in these situations.
St.
So
Peter's,
I'm going to go ahead and roll with CBU as my Cinderella pick. I think if they've got this first time magic going on their side, then why not? Why not make them a Cinderella pick?
Nathaniel Wilson, what do you got? Who's
Yeah,
your-
I had picked a bunch of upsets, but kind of the further I got into my bracket, the harder it is to keep an upset rolling.
Yeah.
So my Cinderella was BYU. I don't follow college basketball other than kind of through the lens of the NBA draft, and so I was watching like the results as they were coming in from the SEC tournament and like the weekend that Acuff had for Arkansas, and so I was like, oh, he exploded for 40 something. I think he had 30 and 11 in the championship. I had Arkansas in there for a little bit. Arizona though was my winner, and this is labeled as my bracket, but this was Nathaniel plus crew, and I'm wondering if we've got a Mike back there. I know we do. Mike Dunn was really feeling Arizona this year, and I wonder if
he was
he can
pretty
speak
adamant
to
about it. Mike, are you with us there in the control room?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Hey, go Cats, go.
Why?
For
Why though?
starters, hey, since I'm here. Yes, a friend of mine gave me some inside information. May or may not be a fan, but it's just very similar to how the Super Bowl played out. Just that they're getting hot at exactly the right time, and they look good. They look good going in.
Is there anybody else in the control room that thinks that that's crazy?
I mean, Arizona is a
No.
number one seed.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen from Kyle. Okay. I mean, that's why they call it March Madness,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I
One
did
team.
pick Arizona to beat my Florida Gators. I'm representing today in the championship, but I saw Jack had Florida as the first number one seed to go down. I was honestly, and I want to hear your take on this, I was kind of surprised to see Florida get that number one after losing the way they did in the SEC tournament going down to Vanderbilt.
I really was too. Florida, obviously the reigning national champions. I just think that they lost that firepower. Walter Clayton last year for them was unreal. I own a product, Mac product. Shout out the Mac, MAAC, not to get confused here.
Sure.
If Florida's going to be able to put this thing together to make it back to back, I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to do that. It's the reason why Dan Hurley could get the back to back and then fell last year, and he's complaining like he hadn't won 2 championships in the previous 2 seasons. So, I just think that with history, with the way my gut feels, Florida's not going to be the strongest number one that we've ever seen.
I just don't want Duke going all the way.
Yeah, it's so hard to pick against Duke this year. I mean, the Boozer twins are absolutely balling. They might be a little tired. They might be a little banged up, and Cam Boozer didn't have the best ACC tournament for the Blue Devils, but I do think that they are going to have the juice. They have the power on that side, both within the coaching staff and on that roster. They've got tons of future NBA talent down there as well. So I got to go with the Blue Devils to win the championship.
All right, it's fair. I just hope they don't. Now, we are going to hold on to all these picks. We are going to make sure we hold you to them. And when I get proven to be right, I'll come back with all the bragging rights that I could possibly have here.